I'm going to make a video. And I'm going to make this video at the same time while I'm changing my infusion set. So I'm not going to get up and show all this stuff. I'm just going to do what I need to do. So you'll hear beeping and clicking and whatever. Because I'm doing that at the same time because I got to get ready to go to work. And at the same time, it's one of the things you have to change it. So I got to change my infusion set, take the thing out of here, whatever. I also check. Not that this is an infusion set change video, but I need to check and see how much insulin did I have left. Because usually I actually waited 4 days. You're supposed to change it every 3 days. You shouldn't go 4 days. That's because you run the risk of infections and whatnot. So if my doctor's watching this, don't get upset. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, doc. I got 5.6 units left. Usually I have more than that. That would have been enough to last me for another 11 hours, actually. That's assuming I don't take any type of bolus. But that's not the point. One point that I want to get to is ignorance. I have to confess that I'm a very ignorant person. I really don't know a lot of stuff. I'm not that smart. But I think that's a good thing. Instead of making up stuff. I think one of the big problems with a lot of people is they make up stuff. And that's one of the problems. I'm not going to say it's a problem I have with religion itself, but with religious people. I'm going to say religious people, and I'm going to make a separation between the two. Religious people make up a lot of stuff. And, things that you make up, you should just call it fiction. And if you call it for what it is, it's okay. Call fiction fiction, and then we don't have a problem. But I think when people take their fiction and turn it into a fact, I'm not talking about religion, and some people are going to misinterpret what I'm saying. And that's okay. I don't care. The thing is that don't call the thing you made up a fact. We all make up stuff. We all create little fictional stories. And sometimes I tell stories. If you go through all my videos, you'll notice that I've told stories about things. But I always mention that it's fiction. I'll say, well, here's a story. Imagine such and such a thing or whatever, and I'll say that. And it's a fictional story. Some people, however, say things and then they claim it as a fact. They act as if this were something that really occurred. I hear a lot of religious people do that. And one thing I also want to say, there's sometimes I want to say a lot of things, but I'm critical of a lot of religious people because they turn you off. I was thinking, there was a series of videos I was just watching over the weekend. It's called Burning in Hell. I'm not going to make a link to that. You can just simply put that in a thing. It's interesting. It's like some film that was made back in it had to be in the 60s or something. And it was one of these things where they were preaching the hellfire type things, It kind of really silly video. Where these two guys go to this minister, and they get in a conversation with about hell. And these two guys are like motorcycle guys, And one of them, the motorcycle guys, they leave. One of them is kind of like warming over to the preacher, and he's like, yeah, I want to hear more. The other guy said, no, you don't want to hear what he has to say. And then they go off somewhere, and one of them gets killed in a motorcycle accident, and his friend comes to the church crying and says, oh, is my friend burning in hell? Yes, I'm sorry, your friend is burning in hell. And I just get to thinking, see, that's the kind of thing, none of us know what's going to happen when you die. I honestly have to say, I'm ignorant. I don't know. See, I think nobody knows what happens when you die except dead people. I think only dead people know what happens when you die. I don't like to make up stuff. I don't have any kids, but if I did have kids, I would not lie to them. If they asked me, if I had a child and they come up to me and say, Daddy, what happens when you die? I say, well, what happens to your physical body, I can tell you, because that we know scientifically. But what happens to whatever part of you that might be a soul or whatever, I don't know. And I think that's the most honest thing you can ever say. I've learned in my lifetime that the most honest thing you can say is, I don't know. Don't make up stuff. That's one thing. I have a problem with that. When people just make up stuff. When they lie about things. when they say things because they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. They don't know. But instead of saying, you know, I really don't know, they just make up something. You're teaching someone something that you know isn't true. You don't know the answer. The only reason why you make up stuff is really for ego reasons. Because you don't want to be perceived as dumb. You know, all my life I've gotten in trouble because I would tell people I don't know. People would say, well, Philip, what about this or what about that? And I'd say, well, I don't know. And people get angry. Well, you don't know? How come you don't know? Because I don't. And I always felt good about being honest. You know, I hate being yelled at, and I hate it when people were angry at me. I didn't like that. But I know I would have felt even worse if I lie about it or make up something. I'd rather be honest than have people get angry at me. So when I'm talking on my videos, a lot of times I just make up stuff, but I'm honest enough to tell you I'm making up this stuff. I'm just making up a story. And when I really know something, I'll say it. I'll say this is something I know for a fact. But I just won't sit there and lie. That's one thing I'm not going to do. I'm not going to lie to my subscribers. I'm not going to lie to anybody. Not on YouTube. And not unless my life was in danger, yeah. Which, that's not the case on YouTube, at least so far as I know. You know, I think it's one of the reasons why I never liked that guy, Venom Fang X. I mean, he's interesting in the sense of like, you know, like a car accident. It's interesting. But he's like somebody who just make up stuff. You don't know. Instead of saying, I don't know, he comes up with this very elaborate explanation of things. I was watching another video of some preacher person, or some guy, young guy, you know, talking about the scriptures and grabbing the Bible and, you know, well, according to the scriptures, this, that, and the other thing. And you know, instead of saying, you know what, I really don't. Because when I look at the Bible, you know what, I don't know what this stuff means. You know, and I'm not a scholar, and I have no interest in going to theology school. I look at it, I read it, I find some things in the Bible interesting. Some of it is interesting in many different ways. But for me to tell you what any of this stuff means, I don't know enough stuff in here. Enough about what it means to absolutely have the faith that some people have. Maybe I just don't really have faith. Not the way some people do. Like with the Jehovah's Witness. I don't have enough faith in this to, for example, turn down a blood transfusion. If I had a child, I would not turn down a blood transfusion for my child. I don't have that much faith as they do. They have far more faith than I do. More faith than I ever would have. To me, I got to know. Before I make such a decision like that, I got to have knowledge. I got to know. You know, if God comes down here directly and tells me, Philip, don't take a blood transfusion, don't donate blood, which I do donate blood, and other things, then I'll, you know, yeah, of course, you know, God told me directly, but so far he hasn't communicated with me. I've been checking my emails and faxes, and so far, no word from him yet. But I do believe in God. But I do admit that a belief is a belief. And I do make a distinction between believing something and knowing something. Believing in God is not the same as knowing. Those who know, fine, bravo, give you a cookie. But I'm just a believer. And people have to understand that that is a distinction I make between believing a thing and knowing a thing.